Well, hello there, and you join us here today to talk about 10 bargain watches that I think every single collector has simply got to try. If you're looking to sell a watch, why not get a quick and easy quote over at watchfinder.com. Tom, there are cheap watches, and then there are cheap watches, and then there are also cheap watches that I think every single collector must own at some point. We've got 10 of them, and I'm pretty excited to tell our dear viewer and listener about them. Let's forgo the small talk. Why don't you tell me the first one?
Well, the first one I'm saying that you should try, if you haven't already, is a G-Shock. I think every watch collection must include a G-Shock. Specifically, something from the GA2100 collection. Now, these are your octagonal G-Shocks, often referred to, because of its octagonalness, as a Casio. Because obviously, as we all know, Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak watch, very famous watch, invented the octagon. So beware of imitators. But in this case, I think G-Shock actually does have a stake on that particular shape. Their very early G-Shocks were also octagonal. So here we are. This is the world's toughest watch. And dare I say, one of the coolest watches as well. Street style coming out the wazoo, which is where it comes out, as we all know. Resin materials for the case and a carbon core guard technology make it indestructible, damn near almost. Perfect for a daily wear, but in the GA2100 series, so many different styles. There's stealthy black, there's neon, there's coloured acrylic, there's all sorts of crazy things going on, and each more cooler and more street than the last. But actually just a really, really cool functional watch. There is so many functions on this watch. I actually own a G-Shock. I just use it for the time. I have pushed some of the buttons and got really lost and confused, but that's just me. I'm sure you can figure it out. It is quite large, quite bulky, around 46 millimeters, but actually it wears really comfortably. It's really light. The GA2100 as low as £99 for just a kind of stealthy, all blacked out look. But yeah, cool as all hell.
It's a watch that belongs in every single collector's collection. It is £79, $100. There is very little excuse to not have one of these. And once you've got it, it'll last you a lifetime, because this will still be here after the radiation has long since faded away. Another watch that I think every collector has just got to try. This comes from Seiko. It's probably no surprise to anyone that the Seiko 5 Sports Collection is in this list, but this particular watch is a new one. Well, it's kind of a new one because it's a re-edition of the original Seiko 5 Sports watch, celebrating the 55th anniversary of that piece. It features that very lovely elongated case shape that blends into the bracelet, has all of that vintage design in the bezel and the dial. It looks absolutely the part, and it only costs £350. So it's all in stainless steel. It has a 41-hour power reserve from its caliber 4R36, which is automatic, stop seconds hand function, and a day and date display. 39.5 millimeters, so it's a wearable size. Very, very comfortable. 100 meters of water resistance. But Tom, there is a big but on the back of this thing, and boy is it a doozy, because it is a limited edition. If you do want this watch, you need to hurry, because there are only 15,555. So be quick, because if you want some of that vintage action, that lovely red secondhand, that blue sports, anything that says sports is great. If you want some of that, you don't want to miss out. It's gonna go. I think it's down to 15,530 now, so quick.
It's a really cool release from Seiko. I think it's a great idea to bring back that untouched design. I don't think they mess with it much at all, even down to the box. I mean, that is a little bit too vintagey for me. As you know, I'm very modern.
He's a modern man.
So just regular Seiko 5 Sports for me. Knock £50 off. Don't limit it, and give me as many colours as I could possibly need. The Seiko 5 is just so cool, really robust. For the price, you get so much reliability and functionality. It feels nice and chunky. The bezel, boy, that bezel's really on there, and it clicks in a very satisfying way. What's not to like? Tell me now, and I will deny it.
I have no answer for you, Tom, so I shall reply with another question. What watch would you recommend for someone who has a hankering for some watermelon flavoured candies?
Yeah, if you love the sweet, sweet taste and aesthetic of watermelon candies, you need to get yourself hooked up with a Studio Underdog watermelon. So much fun. And really, really cool watches. Like, it's a bold look, but I think every watch enthusiast has to be bold every now and then. Kind of every little detail has just been so nicely considered. Obviously, yeah, you've got the really loud, proud, impactful punch of the watermelon colours on the front. But you've got like the small second sub-dial and then the large chronograph minute counter dial. So this is a really, really comfortable wear. It's only 38.5 millimeters in diameter, and it just wears so comfortably. But it's quite chunky, it's quite thick. But actually that thickness is kind of negated by the beautiful details of the case back, the way the case back is. You've got this sort of smooth curved edge, sapphire crystal. You've got a really nice finishing on the case. You've got a nice brushed, and I think it's almost bead blasted on the back there. That's kind of how it feels, really nice and textural. It's a proper doozy of a watch. £500, high demand, so not like massively attainable, but definitely affordable, and really, really cool.
You come for the boldness, but you stay for the very considered details, and that's what's made this thing stick. You could call it a bit of a gimmick in this colorway, but actually the balance of the thing, the design details, little things like the pip hour markers and the offset brand and model text either side of the chronograph hand, it's really, really nicely thought through. Very, very considered, and that's why people are just lapping it up, because it's just such a great piece of kit. Speaking of great pieces of kit and lapping it up, Tom, I recently went hands-on in the flesh with the Christopher Ward the 12. Now, this is the watch equivalent of a Victorian manor house, when the owner looked at various different other manor houses from different periods and said, I like a bit of that, I like a bit of that, and I like a bit of that. All in one, please. Because this takes various different aspects from the Royal Oak, the Zenith Classic Defy Skyline, the Chapek Antarctique, and it puts them all together for an entry price of £850 on a rubber strap. So you can buy this in steel or titanium at 40 millimeters. The titanium is extra thin, the steel is just nice and thin, and the whole thing, as Christopher Ward often do, is incredibly well built for a very, very good price. Now, granted, it was designed for the person who did do the design for the Chapek Antarctique, and rumour on the grapevine is that Chapek are a little bit miffed. But if you didn't have that $30,000 to spend on an Antarctique in the first place, kind of doesn't matter. This thing is an incredibly well-made watch, incredibly well-designed, incredibly well-detailed, and I think belongs in any collection for someone looking for a little bit of that integrated goodness.
Yeah, definitely. And what I think is interesting about Christopher Ward is one of our go-to phrases to convey high levels of finishing and detail is it looking HD. Mm-hmm. And there is something about Christopher Ward, they put that extra care and attention into the way they finish, and in a collection it still stands up against watches that would be 10 times the price. So really, really amazing watch, and definitely worth your time and money. Begging for a spot in any collection for show. And I actually ended up having taken one for a test drive for a little bit for the review, ended up buying one, so there you go. Nice, cool. Well, there you go. That's an endorsement. I'm not sure you're allowed to do that, Andrew, but I'll allow it. Cool. Okay. Another fan favourite, cool, affordable, entry-level Swiss watch. This is the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical 38mm. This is a great little watch. The field watch, obviously a no-nonsense design, designed for running around in the field, getting covered in mud, manoeuvres, that sort of thing. Tough guy stuff, big boy shit. So yeah, it's a really cool, robust watch in a nice, tidy, compact package, 38mm. Nice matte stainless steel case. Quite long, quite tall from top to bottom. but it's got a nice bit of curvature to the lug, so it sits quite nicely on the wrist. Lovely NATO strap in khaki green. Yeah, you've got all the numbers on the dials for maximum / confusing legibility. And yeah, just an all-round great watch for the handsome price of £530. Now, the first time I saw this watch and I was fawning for it, it might have been slightly cheaper. So I think it's time to pull the trigger on this before it creeps up anymore, because its popularity isn't going to wane anytime soon. This is a great watch.
Tom, I do have a question though, because I kind of have a general... This is an odd one.
Go on.
I'll be honest. I have a limitation with the kinds of watches that I purchase. They have to have been worn at some point by James Marsden.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that notion? Am I looking at the right watch for me here?
Yes, of course. Obviously, the biggest claim to fame that Hamilton has, their watches have the most cinematic appearances, I believe. They hold the record for most watches in films. And most notably, of course, is the character of Tom Wachowski in the 2020 Sonic the Hedgehog film, as portrayed by James Marsden. And he wore this watch. Obviously, you know, unforgettable moment when he appeared, Tom Wachowski, and he did the thing.
Yeah. Oh.
And Sonic was all like, "Whoa, gotta go faster!"
Ding, rings,
and he was
ding,
like,
ding.
"What time is it?"
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, I mean, obviously, it's been very hard to get hold of this watch since that. But give it a go, and definitely worthy of your collection if you appreciate timeless cinema and timeless watches.
Tom, this next one is going to be very controversial.
Ooh.
Because that's the kind of guy I am. It's a modern world, and I say, no, you should have a moon swatch. This is, after all, the watch of the last few years, the one everyone's been talking about, the little plastic piece of crap that couldn't, depending on whether or not you could buy one.
Yeah.
It stained people's wrists. It was causing queues all around the world. Just general chaos and confusion. Why, people were saying. Why? No one knows why, but we all did. And we're glad that we did. And those who didn't, you're still kind of missing out. Because, like smelling your own farts, there is a small joy to it, even if it's a disgusting and uncomfortable joy. And I think everyone should be able to experience that. There were a number of different ones released. Some of them aren't released quite so much anymore because of the skid mark situation, Skidgate as I call it. But the others are becoming more readily available, like the Mars, the Jupiter. Some of the ones that might trick your friends into thinking you actually bought a real moon watch, those are still quite hard to get. But at £250, it's absolutely not worth it. But I still think for some strange and inexplicable reason that you should have one. Yeah. Do you care to sort of pick apart what I'm thinking here to explain why I think that? Because I'm not really sure.
No, you sold me on that. I'm with you.
You want to have a little waft of a moon swatch.
To set aside all the hype and all the kind of trouble that you may have had in trying to acquire one, it being maybe a little bit plasticky, bit brittle, pushers flying off, £250 is a little bit steep for what you get. It says Omega on it, so yeah, you've got to have it in your collection, haven't you? Really, you get £250 for an Omega, Andrew. That's all I'm seeing. So, I
will caveat this whole thing. You do have to, and I think this is the law, I heard, you have to take the strap off that it comes with, bury it at least 15 feet underground so it might never be seen again, and replace it with something that is not awful. And then it actually becomes a fairly usable and enjoyable watch, just so long as you don't expose it to sunlight, air, any kind of mild abrasives such as a nearby petal, perhaps, because you will just ruin the watch and it won't last more than 5 minutes.
Okay, cool.
But those 5 minutes will be worth it, I can assure you, maybe.
Thank you for those warm tips for good moon swatch care. Moving on then to something that isn't quite as controversial / atrocious. This is the Tiso PRX Powermatic 80 35mm. 35mm? Well, hey, why not? Because that is fun for everyone, as opposed to what was the largest size that...
The 40 that you couldn't wear.
Yeah, caused chronic wrist gap across the nation. The Tiso PRX was almost perfect, but quite big due to its integrated case and bracelet. But Tissot, being the just downright nice guys that they are, said, hey, here's a smaller one for all you wieners like me. But yeah, it's such a great watch. It's when you get this in the hand, it feels like something above its price point. It's got a really nice heft to it. The finishing is off the chain. I'm not talking about the bracelet. I'm talking about the metaphorical chain. The finishing on the bracelet is actually very good as well. It's really cool. You've got that iconic waffle dial, that 70s case shape. It's just a great package. It's really, really cool. It's just not much to complain about. There are some certain hype levels which you might not care for, but I think it's justified. I think it deserves a place in your collection, for sure.
Ironically, Tissot are very close to becoming known as the watchmaker that makes the PRX. Very much like Audemars Piguet has become known as the watchmaker that makes the more expensive PRX. I forget what it's called.
Yeah. You live by the 70s integrated case, you die by the 70s integrated case, don't you? But here we are.
That is a creed we all live by, Tom, and it has served us well so far. Talking of things serving you well, this is the Casio Dura, the otherwise known as the MDV 1061A. This is a $70 watch from Casio, quartz, that has 200 meters of water resistance, full dive watch capability, all housed in a stainless steel 44mm case. If you are looking for a dive watch and you want to spend the least amount of money and get the most amount of performance, this is it. Good old Casio. They're known for their G-Shocks. They're known for the calculator watch that you can write boobs on. They're known for the television remote control watch that you can upset Dixons with. But this is the one in the background doing the hard work, making things happen. And it's the one that I think everyone should have in their collection for that, your yearly trip to Butlins to go have a little splash about on the coast of England.
If you don't already have a Casio, this is a great way to go, isn't it? I love the way it looks like a Rolex Submariner for $70. That's just a great design touch.
Yes. In fact, Casio goes so far as to list some of the specs on their website, and the ones they're proudest of, the 200 meters water resistance as signified by a stickman diving with his snorkel there, but also the simple case design, which is advertised as simple.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the very essence of what they're doing there. It really speaks to the whole ethos of the watch. No fuss, no muss, just simple. From simple to eating wrist hair, Tom, you have perhaps a controversial suggestion for the watch that everyone should have in their bargain collection.
Hell no, this isn't controversial. This is a no-brainer. This is the Timex Q Timex reissue 38mm stainless steel bracelet watch from Timex. I own one of these. I impulse bought it on Tuesday special, 30% off or something. I got it for about 90 quid. It's £159 when there isn't a deal on Timex. I don't know when that might be. But this is just a really great watch. Hair nibbling aside, now, so the bracelet is a very fine mesh stainless steel bracelet, and it will nibble at your arm hairs, but that's only for a couple of weeks, and then you'll be perfectly sort of manicured and you won't notice it anymore. So there's that. So don't worry about that. But actually, it's just a really, really tidy little watch. It's robust, it's reliable, but again, it's got a nice sort of 70s blocky case shape and integrated bracelet. Very, very nice design, and there's actually quite a lot of nice detailing on it. The lugs are nicely angled and they're polished on the underside, which catches the light in different ways and looks very pleasing. There's a lot to admire in this watch, and it's hard to go wrong. You can change the battery on it yourself, so you don't have to get involved with some high street jeweler and get fleeced for battery change prices, which today are just ludicrous. Yeah. So there's that.
That's the real message we want to talk about here. High street battery change prices. It's disgusting.
Yeah, if you're a tightwad like me, that's very important.
Bald band of hair around your wrist aside, I would liken the experience of the Q Timex to a classic Ferrari. Your first experience with it is the realization that this is crap, but I love it. Everything that is not so high spec about this thing becomes very endearing. The plasticky crystal, the thin rattly bracelet, it gives you a very pure and original experience, which is really refreshing compared to all of the shiny polish and thick pieces of steel and fancy clasp mechanisms. This just does the job to the barest minimum, not just in look and feel, but also in cost. And it feels just right for that. Because you can start to get a little bit fatigued with luxury. And this is very much the opposite end of that. This is the everyman's watch and should be in every man's collection.
Yeah, you know, I would honestly upgrade "This is crap, I love it" to "This is fine, I love it." Like, yeah.
Tom, for our last watch, I think this is the kind of thing that you could buy once, keep forever. It is a watch by Citizen, who are giving Seiko a really good run for their money at the moment with this SUYOSA, a domestic watch for a period that has now been released out to the wider world. The 40mm stainless steel case has an integrated, blended into the bracelet shape, which kind of picks and chooses from different brands all over the place. It's not one thing in any particular sense, but it's many things. It feels familiar, but new at the same time. The dial as well, beautiful sunburst, multiple different colours. This is the watch you get when you buy your first BMW, when you get your first middle management job, and for some reason, even when you outgrow all of those other things, this stays with you. Very high quality, very well made, very affordable at £266 and 38 pence, including 20% VAT in the UK, Tom. I can't really think what more you really want from a daily watch than that.
No, it's just completely unfussy, really sleek design. It's such a cool watch for such a great price. This will run and run for years.
So there you go, dear viewer and listener. Those are 10 bargain watches that we think you should have in your collection. Which watches do you think were better between the ones that Tom picked and the ones that I picked? Let us know in the comments below, and also let us know some of your must-have bargain watches. And if you've got a watch that you're looking to sell, why don't you get a quick quote over at watchfinder.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.